has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. All right, so why don't we start with these games that are tonight? And you got me all worried now about totals because I'm betting overs in a couple of games. I got nothing but problems.
Yeah, no doubt. I would be a little worried as well after those numbers, but these totals have come down a little bit because of all that, Scotty. Why don't we start in Brooklyn, where the Nets and the Grizzlies are going to get together. If you remember, Nets blew them out in Memphis last week. That was Ollie's first win as the interim coach. No Ben Simmons, no Cam Thomas for the Nets, who are minus 9.5, and a very low 206.5 as the total.
Yeah, I like the under in that game because both teams stink so much, and there's no way I'm laying 10 in any Brooklyn Net game. And I don't trust Memphis enough to take the 10, so I'm on the under.
The Clippers are back-to-back for them. So a win in Minnesota yesterday. Now they go to Milwaukee tonight to face the Bucks, fresh Bucks team, who do have Giannis on the injury report as questionable with the Achilles. We'll see if he's good to go. I'm sure he will be. Minus 4.5 for them. 224.5 is the total.
Yeah, I mean, this game is brutal, right? I got to tell you, I mean, right now, looking at it, I'd lean Bucks because the Clippers played that tight game last night in Minnesota, and I'd also lean on the under because every time you see this every night, all unders every night, every single night of the week, I'm going to get lured into some over here. I would lean on the under here and the Bucks at home in Milwaukee with Giannis and Dame time.
We welcome in all of our radio affiliates for Coast to Coast here on a Monday. Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline. Great to have everybody with us here today. Next, back-to-back for the Timberwolves as well. After losing at home, they stay at home, and they have Portland coming in. They have beaten Portland, Scotty, 3 times already this year by a combined 72 points in their 3 victories over the Blazers. No Jeremy Grant, or Jeremy Grant's doubtful. DeAndre Ayton, questionable. Timberwolves minus 13.5 here. 210.5 is the total.
Well, I think they're going to take it out on Portland tonight because they've lost their last 2 at home, and they're not losing this game. And I think they're going to win this game by 20, 25 points. And I would leave it at that. I'm not touching that total because Portland doesn't have anyone going. Barnes is out. You already heard him. Ayton. It goes on and on. So Jeremy Grant's another guy that scores a lot. He's not going to play if he's doubtful. So let's just say they have no chance. This could be like that Boston Dubs game yesterday, literally. It could be 130-90.
Yeah, I would lay it as well. With that, actually, as we were speaking, went from 13.5 to 14.5. So it's just going up, and away in mini tonight. The Wizards, still out west, they stop in Utah tonight to face the Jazz. Jazz minus 5.5, 241.5 is the total here.
Yeah, I bet this. This was the game that I bet over the 241, and I did it because of what the Jazz do typically, in my view, at home in Salt Lake Shakers. I think they're going to score a lot. I think they're going to cover to 5.5. I think the game goes over. I think Washington has been putting up points. We saw them give the Lakers a $134, something like that, in that overtime Laker win at the Crypt. So I like points in this one. Finally, a game that I see going over despite all these unders in the NBA. But I still think the Jazz cover the 5 and a hook, and I think they do it easily.
We have a couple of late-night games tonight on the West Coast. We'll start in Sacramento, where the Bulls come to town to take on the Kings. Kings minus 7.5, 228.5 is the total in this one. De'Aaron Fox questionable. He didn't play the other night. And for the Bulls, really only Caruso, Scotty, questionable in terms of guys who haven't been out already.
Yeah, look, I think Sacramento wins this game, and here's another under for me. I think they'll slow the Bulls down out at the Golden One.
And finally, game of the night, I guess you could say, as the Thunder, who we talked about earlier after the win in Phoenix last night, they go to Los Angeles to face the Lakers and LeBron. Thunder, Scotty, 1.5-point favorites on the road at the Crypto. 238.5 is the total. Everybody looks good for OKC. No worries with them. Young team on the back-to-back. We already know the Lakers always have LeBron and AD on the injury report. But guess what, Scott? You know they're playing. LeBron wants to play this team tonight. Big game for the Lakers at home.
Yeah, I'm not. I already told you. I'm on the OKC Thunder here. And, what was I getting? At the beginning of the day, I think I was actually, what was I getting? One? Maybe I was laying one. I don't know what it was. I bet Oak City laying one, I believe is what the number was when I laid it. I think they'll beat the Lakers. And I'll stay under. I think the Thunder will keep the Lakers at bay. It won't be the other way around. I think the Thunder will do whatever they want.
I'm with you. I like the Thunder tonight, and actually, that's one game I kind of lean to the under. Believe it or not, 238.5. Stay with that under pattern, especially Thunder second night of a back-to-back. I think they control the game, and it stays under that 238 and a hook. There you go. Your night in the NBA. You'll do a little bit more, of course, with Coach. Coming up in a little bit on the Lion's Share here for tonight. How about a little college, Scotty? Because guess what? It's March, baby. Let's go. March is here. We have the final week of the regular season starting this week in the big conferences. We have conference tournaments starting in the mid-majors this week as well, including tonight. I've got the first conference tournament games that are going to go for you. But a few things from the weekend first, and then we'll do the rest after the break. UConn beats Seton Hall. Nice effort by the Pirates, losing by 30 yesterday. Jeez, that's two bad ones in a row for them. I know Creighton and UConn are tough, Scotty, but when you're a bubble team, you can't lose by 30 every night. You got to give a little bit better effort than that.
Well, it was a 10-point game at the half, and I thought Hayes was playing well for the Hall, and he was getting what he wanted in the paint. And they got away from that, and it got ugly in a hurry. It went to 20, and then it went to 30, and then but late in that game, UConn had no starters in the game, and this is going to be a crucial week, Mike, for Holloway and Seton Hall. I mean, it is do or die time this week for the Pirates.
It certainly is, as we know, as they get set for the Big East tournament next week. They have on Wednesday Villanova at home, and then they finish up with DePaul at home on Saturday, so they could use both of those wins. Indiana with a win. I was flipping away when the golf was in the rain delay yesterday. I flip over to Channel 2, and what do I see? Indiana on the big TV yesterday against Maryland coming from behind and beating the Terps 83-78. I know it hasn't been the best year for you, Scotty, but that was a nice win on the road for Indiana yesterday.
Even better was that I bet on them yesterday +9, and they hit. Mafia is my witness. So they needed that desperately. Their season's over. At least they played hard and tried to win instead of being quitters and losers.
I'll give you the rest of the big ones from Saturday when we come back. And then, like I said, I've got conference tournaments for you tonight. I got 3 games tonight as well. A lot to do in college.
A great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole. That's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Just a quick note, Carver High, because I knew that when we were talking about those NBA games, I was like, I had the over, and then I said I had the Thunder, and I said, I don't know, what is it? Maybe I laid one. I actually got one. This morning when I did that bet, I made that bet at +1 at -110 on FerrallOnTheBench.com. I also had the Wizards and Jazz over 238 at -110. I did not bet that at BetMGM. Mafia has informed me that I will be given 20 lashes for not betting at BetMGM on that particular bet, which I got odds differently somewhere else. Notice I didn't say better. I said differently. I got different odds somewhere else. So I did not bet where I always bet, BetMGM, because they give so much money out. And then Mafia said, if you don't bet at BetMGM, 20 lashes per incident. But I did have the Thunder at +1. That's a big difference than laying 1.5. And it's also a big difference between 238 and 241 in that total of the Wizards game.
Absolutely. Sometimes, the early bird gets the worm, Scotty. You got to get up early in the morning. Got to get the best numbers.
I get up early.
Same thing.
4:30.
I did it this morning with the golf, too. 7 a.m., they put the numbers out for the golf, and you get some numbers that are gone by Tuesday or Wednesday. So you got to get early.
Okay.
If there's a guy you like on the golf, get up and get it going. Here's the rest of the college from the weekend. Baylor beat Kansas 82-74. Baylor also, I saw today, Scotty, they fell out of the top 10 of the AP top 25, as they should. Not a good week for them, losing to BYU and losing to Baylor. Creighton beat Marquette 89-75. Good win for Creighton. Of course, Kolek wasn't out there for Marquette. South Carolina beat Florida.
Two starters
out in that game. Yes, 2 starters out in that game. So it was tough for Marquette. South Carolina did come back and beat Florida. They were down for a lot of that game. and the Gamecocks came back and stormed through in the second half. Yes.
They outscored them like 25-13 in a stretch of about 10 minutes in that second half, and that was it.
Gutless effort by Wisconsin at home. Yeah, I was on them. 91-83, they lost to Illinois on Saturday afternoon. Kentucky, how many games in a row has Kentucky scored 100 points? They also give up 100, 111-102. Maybe that's Cal's way now, Sky. He said, you want to know what? Our defense sucks as it is. Let's just try to score $110 every single night, and nobody's going to be able to score with us. Maybe that's the theory now.
Well, I know there's a lot of people betting on him in the NCAA tournament when it starts to win it all, and they're gonna lose their money because it's real simple.
They are.
You cannot allow a 500 team to score 102 points against you in your building. It is the essence of failure. They are horrible defensively. They don't play defense. All they do is get in a run and gun game, and eventually you're going to be playing. You're not playing in Lexington. You're going to be playing in regions and in neutral courts where you don't have any juice at all. I know they travel well, Kentucky fans, but it doesn't matter. If you don't play defense, I mean, you're not going to play games in the NCAA tournament at $111, $102. It's just not happening. So when you don't play defense, they'll get tripped up in the NCAA tournament. They're not winning anything.
I agree. Number one, Houston did get a push in Norman from the Sooners, but they won 87-85. No cover there for
Mike,
the Cougs. Yes, Scotty.
Honestly, I was surprised. Ask you, seriously. I have to ask you. I'm not surprised. What I'm at issue with here is every game they play now becomes a 2-point, 3-point game, 1-point game, overtime game. They're in all these tight games, and they play with a mope attitude of, we got this, don't even worry about it, we're going to win. They don't even have any kind of anxiety at all in a pressure game. Now, that might be a good thing, but my point is, if all you ever do is play tight games and think you're always going to get it done, when you don't score outside as much as everyone else, they are a dunking team. They are a high-low, high post, bounce pass, lob, dunk, or baseline layup team. That's who they are. They are at the 10. That's who they are. They are not a three-point shooting team. And I think their defense will rue the day. It'll carry the day. But I do believe that playing so many close games, it reminds me of Purdue. When Purdue plays a close game every year in the NCAA tournament, what happens to Matt Painter? We all know they lose.
Yeah, that's what happens. What's concerning to me also is how many points they've been giving up recently.
Yes.
I know Oklahoma can score a little bit, Sky, but 85 points for that Houston team, which is normally so stout defensively, that's a lot of points. And I'm sure Oklahoma would tell me they had a great night. They were hitting everything. Whatever.
It was in Norman.
Houston doesn't give up that many points usually. That's a great win by Tennessee at Alabama, 81-74. A huge win for them, and I love this. I hope they win every game until the tournament. I hope they win the SEC tournament. I hope everybody goes to the window and gets pumped up on Tennessee, and they get a 1 seed, and they get all that. That way I can bet against them when it really matters in a couple weeks.
Be careful because I don't disagree with that at all. But I'm telling you, they are a very physical, grown man, veteran team. This is not a candy college boy, loaded with, freshman and sophomore and no experience. This is a grown man. These are guys that are like ready to get married and have kids. They're in their 5th year. And, I mean, they are loaded with experience, and they play a violent physical style of basketball. They went into Tuscaloosa, and they literally pushed around Alabama. And I think Alabama's a really exciting, fun team to watch. They took that away from them, too. They said, you're not running tonight on us. We're going to trip you up. We're going to punch you right in the mouth. We are going to bang you. You go to the 10. You are going to get fouled hard and think twice about going again. I think Tennessee, I'm going to say it, is one of the most dangerous teams in the country, unequivocally, because of their experience and physicality. These are grown men playing college basketball, and really, it just ain't fair.
They have been very good. There's no question about that. Gonzaga with the win.
That kid's a badass.
He's a badass. Gonzaga with a win over St. Mary's. Gonzaga's in the tournament, Scotty. I don't care what happens in the West Coast Conference tournament this week. That is a 2 big league. Them and St. Mary's will both be there. in a couple weeks in the big dance. They have closed very nicely with wins over San Francisco and St. Mary's in that conference.
Mike,
So be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, I lost money. I lost money there in Moraga on Saturday night, and I was really disappointed because it wasn't that they lost; it was that they got their ass beat. I mean, They went in there. The game was over in 20 minutes. 20 minutes in, the game was over. They never were in the game ever from the jump, and they were down big early at the half, at the end. And they hadn't lost a game in a WCC all year. This is a really bad sign for St. Mary's that Gonzaga once again slapped them in the face like they always have for the last 30 years. And I think it took the soul out of the Gales. I think it took their soul right out of their chest and threw it in the garbage can. I don't think they'll ever recover from the beating they took when they thought they were going to have a big party in Moraga the other night and go undefeated in WCC play. And their arch nemesis, their hated kryptonite rival, came in and beat their ass and slept with their girlfriends.
They certainly did. Purdue did beat Michigan State, didn't cover on Saturday night, 80-74. Virginia also got their ass beat. That was at Cameron Indoor against Duke, 73-48. That's not a tournament team either. I know they're on the bubble, and everybody's going to try to sell you this week that Virginia needs to do this and win that. They are awful to watch. They have no offense whatsoever. Arizona beat Oregon 103-83.
Oh, my God.
Arizona playing well, too. Arizona smoked Oregon on Saturday afternoon. Houston is still number one. Destroyed them. Houston's still number one. UConn, Purdue, Tennessee, and Arizona round out the top five. After you talk to Coach, I'll give you some conference tournament numbers with a few starting early this week and games tonight, including Duke and NC State in the ACC.
Yeah, and everyone thinks Duke's losing tonight in Raleigh. No, they're not.
Letting points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
So some people go to the ATM machine and they have to, remember their code to get their money. And that's the most important 4-digit thing that they get involved in. Whether it's 4 or 5 digits, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, maybe the code on your phone. Maybe that's the thing that you keep on your head always. And you know that number, you won't give it to anybody. I say the most important code is SG150, SG150, son, because that is the BetMGM code, that bonus code of love to get you in on 150 Flambitos, bonus bets, immediacy. They're throwing 150 into your account. Open an account on the BetMGM mobile app on iOS or Android or BetMGM.com. Go in there, boom, start an account, $5, boom, make a bet, $5, standard odds price, boom, 150 Flambitos right in your account immediately, whether you win the bet or not. So you got all these other codes and account numbers and your girlfriend's telephone number and, all these things that don't matter. All you need to know is SG150, son. Get on that BetMGM mobile app train, son, and ride the Sunset Express all the way to Gloryville. It's time to Lion's Share with the one and only Coach James Young. Coach, I want to start today by going back to something that I was talking about earlier. The performance by Tennessee and that grown man team, that veteran team, that physical team. I mean, some of them probably have 2 wives and 3 kids. All I know is they went to Tuscaloosa. They pushed them around. I don't care what the score was. They didn't let them run. They didn't let them get to the bucket. They fouled them hard when they went into the paint or anywhere close to the basket. And I thought they let their presence be known. I'm starting to look at teams like this. These 6-loss teams like, Tennessee, Duke, these are legitimate teams. And that's a veteran team. Were you impressed with what they did in Tuscaloosa on Saturday? And are you buying them in the tournament? Carver has already said he can't wait to bet against them. He thinks they're automatic failure. And I'm not so sure. I think they can beat anyone in the country.
Well, to me, it's Carver High's point is more has to do with the fact of Rick Barnes' history as a coach in the NCAA tournament than this Tennessee team, right? But when you look at that game, when you go on the road, when you and I talked about this, you want to take the crowd out of the game, right? How do you take a crowd out of the game? You take a team like Alabama that wants to run up and down the floor, shoot threes, and dunk the ball, and you force them to play half-court basketball. And I think that's what they did. But when you look at this team of Tennessee, right, you look at a guy like Connect, 6'6", 204. You look at Ado, right, 6'11", 241. You look at Ziegler, right, another guy, big, not big, 5'9", 171. But they're grown men, right? That you go down the roster and you look at, junior, senior, junior, they're experienced, right? So to me, I am more impressed with what I've seen out of Tennessee because I've been one of those people for years. I've been like, I'm going to knock them. But to be first place in that league, Ferrall, that says something because besides the Big 12, the SEC is the best conference in America, and they're right now in first place.
You cannot win in the NCAA tournament the way Kentucky plays basketball and gives up 100 points to a 500 team. Every time they play no defense at all. You cannot tell me that you can win the NCAA tournament not playing defense.
No, and I think that's the thing, and that's why you look at teams like Houston that can make a run because of their defense, right? You look at a team like Iowa State because of their defense. You look at Tennessee, how they play because of their defense. Kentucky is the wild card team because they've had games where they had, like over the weekend, where they scored 111 points, and there was games where they had against Auburn when they give up 60 or 61 to Auburn. Like, which Kentucky team is it? They have a plethora of guards, and they have the deepest set of guards in the country. You got to also wonder about their youth and inexperience when the time comes. But yeah, Tennessee, Iowa State, Houston, obviously UConn, teams that can defend in the half court can always give you a chance to win in March, because you know, and I know, Ferrall, the game slows down a lot when you get to the tournament.
I said earlier that St. Mary's may not recover from that soul ripping that Gonzaga did out of their chest. They took their souls from them in their building in Moraga. Will they recover from that in the NCAAs?
I don't know. I don't think so. You know, and Scotty, I think this has more to do with the fact of maybe Gonzaga is just figuring it out, right? Like, that's a team with experience, with number obviously transferring from Creighton. They have guys, but St. Mary's team that's 24-7, right? And they're ranked still in the top 25 in the country. You start going down their schedule, Ferrall. Well, where is their big win? At Colorado State? Okay. Like, what's their best win? New Mexico by 14? I mean, they lost to Xavier by 17 points. Xavier's in the bottom half, won't make the tournament. So you lost to Utah by 7, Boise State by 3. So maybe we're overestimating St. Mary's a little bit, but I do think this Gonzaga team, now that they won at St. Mary's, previous game at San Francisco, forget about it. They're firmly in the tournament, and they're a team with Mark Few who makes runs. You don't want to see them.
So the Mavericks lost at home yesterday to Philly. That was embarrassing enough. I told Carver High that I did wear my new Lucas today and had a 25 spot in them, and I did not walk off the court with any bleeding toes. I had a better day in the Lucas than Luka had with his triple-double, losing to the Sixers. This is clear to you, right, Coach?
Listen, this was a game that when you and I did yesterday, when we did betting above the rim, we thought this was a lot of points. Now, I didn't think they were going to turn around and lose flat out outright, but to me, when you look at a team like Dallas, we've talked about it, Ferrall. It's their front court depth. I mean, P.J. Washington, 13 points. What the darn do? 3 for 10 from the floor. Derek Lively, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 5 personal fouls. Daniel Gafford, 13 minutes, 0 points. Kleber, 2 points, 5 rebounds, 26 minutes. That's the problem with Dallas. They're going to get great play out of Kyrie and Luka. They're going to get nothing from the front court. And as long as you have P.J. Washington as one of your anchors to start, I know they got rid of Grant Williams. It was addition by subtraction. They miss like the Finney Smiths of the world, right? They miss those forwards, small forwards, power forwards that can defend, knock down shots. They can lean on those 2 guards all they want. Ferrall, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs.
All right, let's take a look at some of Coach's favorite plays tonight. And we'll start with, may I have a Tom Collins, please?
Yes, the big enigma in the NBA, John Collins, to record a double-double. Wait, what? Minus 145? What's Coach doing? Very simple. No Walker Kessler. No Lauri Markkanen. Wizards give up the most rebounds in the NBA per game. Utah, number 2 in rebounding differential. John Collins, Tom Collins, whatever Collins you want. Double-double, minus 145 tonight.
I remember my grandma used to have a Tom Collins before dinner. Let's go to the next one. Tyus Jones getting involved for the Wizards in the same game.
In the same game, folks. 2 of them, I got you. Tyus Jones, over 12.5 points plus rebounds. Over 9 out of his last 15 games. 4 out of 5 versus Utah. Obviously, with Utah down Kessler, that opens up the lane a little bit. Think about this. he is in the 80th percentile in the NBA in points per possession as a pick-and-roll ball handler, meaning, right, floater game, pull-up J. Well, guess who's 29th defensively? That's Utah. Tyus Jones over 12.5 points plus rebounds tonight.
How about in the Oak City Laker game, you got my boy Lou Dort.
Yeah, I got Lou Dort. Carver High, a little upset with Lou Dort, but that's not me. This is Coach Young. Lou Dort over 11.5 points plus assists over 5 out of his last 8. 4 out of 5 versus Lakers. Ready? 42% of his shots come as spot up. Lakers, bottom 10 points per possession in spot up. They're going to be worried about people like SGA. I think he can get there, Ferrall, with the points alone. The assist is just a little extra. Lou Dort over 11.5 points plus assists.
So you got on that Nets game. It moved from the 8.5 you bet it at to it's up to 10 now.
Well, it's up to 10 because now it's shocking, folks, because no Ben Simmons tonight. So you figure they're in trouble. No Cam Thomas tonight. But a team like the Grizzlies are just flat out terrible, playing out the string 1-3 against the last 4. The Nets have covered 2 straight. And the Nets, folks, they're hovering around. They're hovering around, right? They are, I do believe, 2 games out of the loss column behind Atlanta. I think they get a big win at home. I know it moved. I'm still taking them. Nets win by double digits tonight.
I told you they would lose yesterday, the T-Wolves. They're not going to lose tonight to that Portland team. They're going to kill them. Who do you like in the Clippers-Bucks game at Fiserv in Brewtown?
Because the way the Bucks are playing, right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say the Bucks minus the points. We take the Bucks in the regular season. Ferrall, we just don't take Doc Rivers in the postseason.
You like Duke tonight on the road at NC State?
Love them. Minus the points. Go grab them now.
Baylor at home over Texas?
Yes, as well.
All right, Coach, my man.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
Get smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High, I know you have a lot of skinny for me in college rack and everything else. Tons of conference tournaments starting in mid-majors. You name it, you got it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me start with first, of course, every week I give you the updated best and worst against the spread in college rack. Minnesota is still there, 24-5. Boy, did they need to come back on Saturday against Penn State at home. And then they they actually almost came back and covered. And they let Penn State get a bucket right before the buzzer, which didn't cover it. Stony Brook, Iowa State, South Carolina, Arizona, Nebraska, the worst. Pacific, Old Dominion, Michigan, and Missouri, the worst against the spread.
Yeah, look, I lost that Minnesota-Penn State bet, and I was livid for upwards of 8 hours.
I understandably so. The best over and under teams here as we hit March. Wright State out of the horizon, 22 games to the over so far this year. Kentucky and Alabama are there. Arkansas there as well. Illinois, Purdue, and Iowa. Under, Vermont, Duquesne, Vandy, Rutgers, Notre Dame, and Maryland. Most unders in college rack.
Yeah, it's funny because Vermont and Duquesne are good teams. I mean, Duquesne's not great, but they're good. They're tough, and they've won on the road, and the Catamounts are always good. I think part of that stems from they play in that crappy conference, and they stand out like a sore thumb.
It is time, mid-majors, and Vermont is going to be, of course, the favorite in that America East, which will get going later this week. But I do have a few that are starting in the next couple of days before you're back on Thursday. The Horizon. We always love the Horizon Conference. And I'd love to go with Bobby Moe at 100-1, but I won't be doing that, Scotty. I think that the Penguins of Youngstown State, it's time for them to start dancing. I know they're the favorites, but I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You just showed Wright State how dangerous they are. I think it boils down to Wright State and Youngstown State, and I won't be surprised based on experience and doing it in the past that Wright State gets it done. So look at those odds right there for Wright State, and I would pounce on them. They score a lot.
Big South, High Point is the favorite at -110, so a minus money favorite in the Big South. Asheville, Winthrop, Gardner-Webb, and Longwood also within some good striking distance.
I would rather do time at Leavenworth than care about this tournament.
This is a tough one. The Ohio Valley I have for you as well, where Morehead State is a minus money favorite with Little Rock, UT Martin, and West Illinois in shouting distance.
Again, I have bigger fish to fry, but I'm excited for anyone jumping in on those odds. As you know, Carver High, a huge fan of Morehead State.
Southern Conference, Samford is the favorite. West Carolina, UNC Greensboro, and Chattanooga. About the Mocs at plus 550 for Chattanooga to get it done.
Yeah, I think they stink this year. I got to be honest with you. The team that I think can somehow pull it off, I'm going to go with West Carolina in the Southern Conference.
How about that? Sunbelt, James Madison has been very good all year. They're the favorites, but App State is plus 170. Then you get Troy, Arkansas State, and others. I think that'll be a great final if we get it, Scotty, between James Madison and Appalachian State.
And Appalachian State will win because they own James Madison in football and basketball. They own them. They are living rent-free in their house. And they are sleeping with their women and eating their food and drinking their wine and grapes.
They certainly are. And the last one I'll give you today is the A-Sun because it starts tonight. Eastern Kentucky is the favorite. Of course, they're not going tonight. Lipscomb, Stetson, Austin P. Give me Austin P, Scotty, at 8-1 to make a little noise here in the A-Sun.
Always bet on Stetson Cologne.
Always bet on Stetson Cologne. And the A-Sun is the first conference that will play their tournament games. And when is
Jacksonville
that?
plays tonight against Florida Gulf Coast.
Ferrall State is playing Jacksonville tonight.
I said they're both playing tonight, right?
Queens is playing Florida Gulf Coast. The opening games of the A-Sun tournament, Florida Gulf Coast is favored, and Ferrall State is also favored.
Yeah, look, Ferrall State should win this game, but they have not been good this year. I'm not buying them. And I'm taking Queens in an upset over Florida Gulf Coast in the nightcap.
Wow. How about that? Queens getting it done against Florida Gulf Coast. We love when the mid-majors finally get the ball in the air for their conference
Carver
tournaments.
High loves to drive to Queens for slices of pizza.
Well, not that Queens, but yes, we do like driving to Queens for slices of pizza. Next, we have two games of significance tonight. First, Duke visits Raleigh to take on NC State, minus 6.5 for the Blue Devils, 149.5 now for this total here tonight.
No one believes in Duke, and I hate to say this because I've never liked them, but I do believe in this team. They have 6 losses. They are legit. They even pulled off the phony Filipowski injury in Winston-Salem. That was all an act. John Shire talking about how great Wake Forest is. Duke knows it's always a tough road trip to go to Winston-Salem. They lost fair and square. But here's the deal. North Carolina State isn't as good as Duke, and Duke's going to go in there tonight and beat them. And they are a dangerous NCAA team. You know why? Because they got a 7-footer who is a monster, and he's going to the NBA. And then they have great guard play. And I'm not even talking McCain and Roachcliffe. These two guys can light you up. And when you have 2 guards, that is a problem for any team. When you have that kind of backcourt productivity and a 7-footer down low, the high-low in-and-out game is alive and well for Duke tonight. And even if they don't get it done tonight, hypothetically, I think they are a legitimate Elite 8 team in the NCAA tournament and perhaps in Shire's first trip to a Final Four.
The other game of note, Big 12 tonight, 9 o'clock East tip in Waco. The Longhorns going to Baylor. Baylor minus 6.5, 145.5 is the total here.
I just think Baylor's been in too many big games lately that have paid off for them. And they beat Kansas's ass. They took Houston to overtime in Waco, had a 2-point lead and lost it. I don't think Texas knows what's going to hit them tonight in Waco. Rowdy, crowd, lit, Waco, good team, great outside, inside game. I think Baylor beats Texas tonight easily in Waco.
I'm with you on Baylor tonight in the late game. Now, there are other games. I don't know if you're involved at all. There's some Big Sky.
I am.
Not sure if Eastern Washington and Sacramento State gets you going.
You knew. You knew.
What?
You knew.
Yeah.
You knew I was on the Skyhawks tonight.
Yeah, the Skyhawks.
Laying 8 against Sacramento State, where my boy H2O made his bones. Aaron Hargrove, my boy Haran, and Weber State. I'm taking them on the streets against Montana State, laying 2.5 at 110. Eastern Washington -8 at 110. So give me the Skyhawks in Sacramento, and they'll spoil it tonight for the home team.
We love that. The Big Sky action. Their tournament will start at the end of the week as well. One other note for you, of course, on the women's side, and that was Caitlin Clark. Another record for her. She passed Pete Maravich on Saturday, Division I scoring record in that win over Ohio State. They are right now plus 650 to win the women's NCAA tournament. 35% of the bets, everybody going to the window with them. They're the biggest liability, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but South Carolina's like minus 150 now to win the whole thing because they are a freight train.
Yeah, and I really don't have a problem laying 150. And then I think UConn's better than Iowa as well. And I think there's teams like Stanford that can beat Iowa. I think there's a lot of good women's teams. In fact, the team they beat yesterday, Ohio State, has had a better season than Iowa. And that's just all there is to it. They played the game in Iowa City at Carver Hawkeye. It was inevitable that she was going to break the record. It was inevitable that they were going to win. But they didn't blow them out. Ohio State can beat them on a neutral court in the NCAA tournament. I don't think they'll smell each other in that tournament. I think they'll be in separate regions, and I don't see that game coming to fruition. But listen, she's incredible. Let's just get that out and stop with all the nonsense, because we all know how great she is, but that doesn't mean that Iowa's winning the NCAA championship. Everyone's hinging it on last year's run, that they're going back to the finals. Maybe they are, but if I had to bet my money on South Carolina or Gino Auriemma or Iowa, I'm going left. I'm not even going right once. I mean, I'm left. I'm going South Carolina and UConn. And I know that sounds so easy because that's what always happens in women's college basketball these days. It used to be Tennessee and UConn, and that's all there was. But the reality is this: South Carolina never loses. And when they do, it's like stop the press. And then UConn with a healthy Paige Beckers, they're rolling too. And I think Iowa's really good, but I think there's teams that can beat them.
Yeah, and LSU's in the mix too, right, Scotty? I mean, LSU is right there as well. They're the defending champs.
They beat their ass.
And no doubt. So look for them too. I have a lot of NFL for you. I will give you something that just came off the wire moments ago, and then I'm going to save some of this other stuff for the top of the hour. We thought that Russell Wilson would obviously be released from the Broncos. The Broncos made that official moments ago. They put out a big statement. He'll be released when the league year begins next week, March the 13th. The Broncos will now have an NFL cap record, $85 million in dead money. The Russell Wilson era officially over after 2 seasons.
It was the worst signing in NFL history. They got eaten alive for, $39 million, another $37 million, $80 million dead. And they got nothing out of it at all. I mean, no playoffs, no nothing. So I want to see what Sean Payton does now because we already know that he's lost his genius status, which I never believed he had to begin with. I mean, he's another guy. You know what he's like? I hate to say it. Let's just admit what it is. Mike Tomlin got lucky and won a Super Bowl, and so did Sean Payton. And never sniffed another one.
Has not sniffed another one. We'll see where he goes at quarterback. I got a lot more NFL for you at the top of the hour. We will do that after we come back with this day in Carver High history. And then we'll talk about Mike Evans and Jason Kelsey and everything else around football.
If Russell Wilson ends up with the Steelers, I'm not renewing my season ticket. great point guard, a great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole. That's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like we're repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Fans love today in Carver High history.
They certainly do. Why don't we start today in 1941?
Whoa.
Blackhawks goaltender Sam Lepresti, maybe the great uncle of our old friend Chris Lepresti, an NHL record 83 shots in a 3-2 loss to the Bruins in Boston. 68, Joe Frazier takes his record to 20-0 and captures the vacant heavyweight title of the world. He beat Buster Mathis in the 11th round. 1970, the Rangers set a then NHL record of 126 games without being shut out. Also, 1976, the San Francisco Giants are bought for $8 million by Bob Lowry and Bud Herseth. $8 million. Jeez, what a bargain. 1980, Mike Bossy scores the 40th hat trick in Islanders history. 1990, Hank Gathers, sad, passed away at 23 after collapsing during Loyola Marymount's WCC semi due to a heart condition. That was awful. 1995, George Foreman loses his WBA heavyweight title after refusing to fight Tony Tucker, scared of Double T. 2019, Ted Lindsay passed away, Hockey Hall of Famer at 93. 2021, Mark Pavic, former NHL and Miracle on Ice forward, passes away. So there you go. March 4th for us.
George
not the best day.
At night. He couldn't sleep.
Yeah, George didn't want to fight Tony Tucker back there in 1995. Just unlucky for George Foreman.
Do you
so
remember?
There you go. Yes.
Do you remember watching Hank Gathers die? I mean, that was just eerie.
I remember as a kid, I was, I guess, about 10 or 11 when that happened, and I do recall that. Just awful,
I was 40.
Sad moment. Yeah, awful. Absolutely. You were 40. You were not. You were not 40. No, you weren't.
That was awful. I don't know what was worse. I mean, honestly, than watching some guy die playing basketball.
Brutal.